Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Sam. So, today we have the topic of leadership, where Sam sir will speak about his defining moments from his journey, from advising Prime Minister to leading development teams and transforming India. What challenges did he face? What was his personal philosophy in leading those teams? And what does actually leadership mean to him personally? So if you are an aspiring leader or you just are a curious person to know about what actually is leadership, this is the right session for you. So I welcome Sam sir and I request him to address our audience today. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you, both of you. Thank you very much, and my apology for being a little late. I was trying to make some tea, but apparently didn't do a good job. Spilled a little bit, so things didn't work out. Today, we are going to talk a little bit about leadership, mainly because I have been looking at what's going on globally very carefully for the last few weeks. Like all of you, we see tariff war, we see concerns for immigrants, we see tussle between judiciary and executive and legislation. And we see similar patterns in India and many other countries. And I, in the process, started looking at some of the leaders today and their way of doing things, their concerns, their mode of operation. And I remembered a talk I gave in Switzerland, I believe in 2000, no, in 1997, on creative leadership. And this was a 4-hour talk. You have to speak continuously for 4 hours. There were four speakers, two Nobel laureates, and two others. And I thought it was a very interesting way of organizing a conference where you allow someone to speak for 4 hours on a subject. So I pulled that PowerPoint presentation that I had from 1997. I'm looking at it, and I thought I will use that for conversation today on leadership. I will talk a little bit about my experiences later on. But first, I thought we will have a broader conversation on leadership. Leadership is a subject where you could have a series of conversations because there are leaders not only in business and politics, but there are leaders in religion, social service, there are leaders in the family, there are leaders in the community, there are technical leaders, within corporate leaders, there are all kinds of leaders. Leaders for startup are different from leaders for running a big conglomerate, are different from people who run banks or NGOs. So leadership can really be understood if you understand someone's journey, right from childhood to family to education to experience. Because Leadership is sometimes hard to define. If your work and actions inspire others to do good for themselves, their communities, nations, and the world at large by taking special initiatives, then you are a leader. I remember Dhirubhai Ambani used to say in our social conversations that Satyan Bhai, you really have to look back and see if somebody is following you or not. If someone is following you, you are a leader. The size of and the complexity of the challenge you try to lead will define your leadership. Leadership is all about a vision, ability to articulate that vision to large number of people, to inspire, to engage, to empower, and then break that vision into small pieces of work to different groups of people. And then ability to put that work together to accomplish your goal is all about leadership. So leadership is about work, vision, values, and leaders are product of their era, their defining moment. Some people become leader because something unique happened in life. Some people become leader because of their experiences, their challenges, their ecosystem, the problems they are trying to solve. And leaders have different styles. You may have a tyrant leader. Some of us must have experience in our work life. You have visionary leader. You have an intuitive leader, organizer, analytical leader, a hero, a father figure, strategist, pragmatic, and people's servant. So you have on one hand Jack Welch of the world, who ran GE at one time and was considered the management genius and hero. Same person then got one set of respect at one time. And as things change, people change their view of his leadership. Then on the other spectrum, you have people like Gandhiji, Mandela, Martin Luther King, Dalai Lama. Then you have leaders like Kennedy, Trump, Nehru, Anwar Sadat, Marshal Tito, Modi, Indira Gandhi, for example. So each one has their own, or each one has a special way of dealing with things. But institutions play an important role because they are basically institution builders. They empower people in their own way. They create value for various groups of people. They manage media. They mobilize resources. They dream big and they lead their people to victory. To me, leadership begins with self and ends with self. To me, leadership is all about character, values, self esteem, discipline, compassion, passion, responsibility, courage, honesty, loyalty, perseverance, sincerity, energy, enthusiasm, clarity, simplicity, accessibility, assertiveness, humility, hope, love for people. So there are lots and lots of things that really make a leader. You can't say, I have 5 things and I don't have remaining 50. You got to cultivate these special skills over a period of time. As I said earlier, leaders are a product of their era, their ecosystem. So in today's world, complexity of managing normally outstrips the ability of one person to carry it alone. So you got to build team. You got to build your team all around with capable people, and you got to know who is doing what. You got to know their ability, their character, because they become an extension of your leadership style. So at times it gets very lonely at the top, and you have to really cultivate trusted partners who know, who care, and who tell you what needs to be told. Many leaders get hung up on this and don't like to hear bad news. So they wind up creating people around them who are sycophants. And that ultimately hurts their leadership style. So you need different people in the process, people who give you ideas, people who are development oriented, institution builders, resource mobilizers, people who understand business and society. So depending upon the problem you are trying to solve, you need to build your team and you got to invest in your ecosystem. You got to create network of friends and family and trusted professionals. I'll give you an example from my own journey. Over a period of time, I have built a very large group of personal friends, and it requires investment. Huge amount of investment goes in building relationships. For example, in Chicago, I have 5 very close doctor friends who not only take care of me, but also educate me on various new developments now related to longevity, cancer, and all kinds of things that go on through our social conversations. So, over a period of time, systematically, I have in my life categorized my friends in 20 categories: my technology friends, economist friends, doctors, psychiatrists, businessmen, entrepreneurs, lawyers, bankers, scientists, social thinkers, academicians, activists, NGOs, journalists, artists, actors, musicians, bureaucrats, politicians. In each category, I have 10, 15 close friends. Like MF Hussein used to be a very close friend. And whenever we met, we instantly clicked. When he made his first movie on um, Madhuri Dixit, he came to my office in London and he said, Sam, let's watch this movie together. I've never watched the whole thing yet before I release. And lots of people will say, why do you spend time? In fact, my wife would many times say that, why do you spend time with people you have nothing to do with technology? And I would say, that really makes me who I am. They make me who I am. I learn from them. I interact with artists. And there are some great artists who are my very close friends. And when I'm talking about friends, it's not just an acquaintance. I know their families, I know their children, I work with them, I talk to them on a regular basis. But that requires a lot of investment. I have a friend, Jatin Das, who is another painter. And, he had an issue, for example, with his paintings. And I heard about it, and immediately I got involved and I worked on it and I sorted it out and all that. I didn't do it for any reason, but because he's my close friend. So leadership cannot succeed if you don't build the ecosystem. And this ecosystem requires sacrifice. It cannot be transactional. You got to invest in the ecosystem, and the payout may be 10, 20 years, 30 years from now, or there may never be payouts that you recognize. But all these relationships will ultimately mold you. And I find that very few people invest in relationships. Now, technology is a great social leveler. And we all recognize technology is a tool for problem solving of all kinds. Internet, social media, now AI will change the quality of leadership in a very different way. Information has become power. Information brings about, as I always said, openness, accessibility, connectivity, networking, democratization, decentralization, and as a result, social transformation. Information is used for productivity, efficiency, cost reduction, development, and human interactions of different kinds. Information has become a tool. My role model as a leader has been Gandhi. To me, Gandhi is equally important in business, family leadership, community leadership, political, social, economic. He was one of those leaders who commanded no armies, wore no special uniform, had no government position, title, designation, business card, but he led a movement to decolonize the entire world. He lived by the gospel of truth and nonviolence. The most important thing about him was that he emphasized single standard of conduct in public and private life. This is very difficult nowadays. People have double standards. What they say is different from what they mean. And what they mean is very different from what they say. Their private life doesn't quite match with their public posture. They don't walk the talk. They talk the talk and walk the walk. Personal virtues don't become public values. They are not driven by a life of service to others. To me, his life was his message. And every leader must learn that the way you live is being watched by everybody around you, engaged with you, working with you. And they know if a boss says everybody should come at 9 o'clock and boss comes at 9:30, you know it. If you want people to come at 9 o'clock, you got to come at 8. People know how you deal with other people. So your life becomes your message. Your actions speak louder than you realize. The other lesson I learned very early in life is to cope with success and failures. You must focus on karma. This Indian philosophy we learned in school in young days. Don't have too much attachment to the outcome of the activity. Become independent of the opinion of others. Really doesn't matter what others say. Of course, you have to be careful about your behavior, but it has to be rooted in your values. You have to become independent of the opinion of others. You have to focus on job because it needs to be done. You got to work for the sake of work. You don't work for rewards or returns. You do not invest in power over other people. Don't try to control anybody. The most important thing that I learned late in life, little, is do right things versus do things right. I mentioned this earlier in some of our conversations that people get hung up on doing things right, which is good. You should do that. But at some point in time, you have to decide it is time to engage in doing right things and let others have the privilege of doing things right. Another interesting lesson I learned in life is that you need to exercise and accept leadership at the same time. In other words, I find in India, people who exercise leadership cannot accept leadership from somebody else. It's all authoritarian. I am the boss and everybody should follow me. Even if you're a boss, at times you get into a situation where a younger person may have a better idea and you got to listen to them. So leader must learn to accept leadership from others while he or she is exercising leadership. And at the end, you have to really enjoy the journey and not worry about destination. 21st century leadership in 1997, I thought would be very different. But I'm beginning to question that thought I had then. I thought 21st century leadership would need truth and absolute truth, simplicity, sacrifice, concern for the poor and minorities, love for the people, sustainable development, commitment to democracy. This was written then. Focus on young, global outlook, sensitivity to environment. And when I look at some of the global leaders today, I think they do exactly opposite to what I thought would be done in the 21st century. To lead, you also need discipline, analytical ability, creativity. You got to be respectful of other people. You got to be ethical, multidisciplinary. You can't say, I just know one field. You got to be energetic, innovative, entrepreneurial. All of these things make you a leader. So before we open up for a broader conversation, I'd like to summarize by saying my role model has been Gandhi, which says, my life is my message. My focus for last several decades has been to do things, do right things. And I think I stopped doing things right in early 80s. I also decided to merge public and personal standards and values and virtues long time ago. I realized to be a leader, you got to change and you got to be a change agent. So you constantly have to read, review, reflect, revise, rework, redesign. This is ongoing journey every day. Whenever I have a little bit of time, I start reading something totally different on variety of subjects. Because of the recent news on re-extinction, I got interested in how that happens. And so I started reading, and it's fascinating. So there is no end to learning, and there is no end to knowledge. There is so much to know that there is no time to learn enough about anything. So you have to accept your limitations, but you still have to lead. And leaders are unique people in this world because they mold others in many different ways. And there are thousands and thousands of leaders. There are leaders in education. We don't realize that the teachers who mold our early life are really leaders in their own way. So leadership is very complex phenomena, and we can have a much deeper conversation on leadership. I remember maybe around 10 years ago, Rakesh and I decided that I should do some videos on leadership. And with the help of Rakesh, we did about 16 hours of videos on leadership, 16 one-hour videos on various aspects of leadership. I'm sure it's there somewhere, I don't know where, but we have on our server all 16 videos. So the subject is much deeper. There are books written, there are professors, MBAs, big schools who teach leadership. But unfortunately, many courses on leadership is more about extracting value than creating value. The leaders I'm talking about are not necessarily business leaders, but they are also people's servant. So with this, let's have a conversation, an input from others on what you want to say about leadership. Thank you, Upendra. Thank you, Premvada.
Thank you, sir. There is a question from Lakshmi Narayan about the current US leadership. He's asking, don't you feel suffocated during Trump's autocratic rule in democratic USA?
Well, it's not a question of being suffocated. It's a question of, trying to understand the changes America is going through. Okay. It's not simple. Okay. He is really elected by a large number of people. People expected him to do these things. He promised to do these things, and he's doing it. Okay. The way he's doing it, I may not agree. What he's doing it, I may not agree. But the fact is, people of America elected him. So we must respect that. Time will tell what is right and what is wrong. But we are all concerned about the fact that America is a democracy. Our idea of democracy is very different than what is going on today. But I think dust will settle down. Okay. So I have great hope in America. I've lived here for 60 years. I've gone through many crises. I was here during Vietnam War. I remember going through petrol crisis in this country in a big way, where we had to wait in line for a mile to get gas. I remember other wars, Libya, Iraq, even Kuwait, Afghanistan, and many. I was drafted to go to Vietnam. I still have a card which says occupational deferment. So America has changed in many different ways. Everyone is changing. Change is constant. And this is another phase in American history that we are going through. But America will come through. America has inner strength, resilience to rise in crisis. America has innovative people, good institutions, very alert civil society, reasonably free media, and creative education institutions. So I think it'll be okay in the long run. But there'll be a lot of damage in the process, or there'll be a lot of difference in the process. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So another question, like I have a question.
Uh-huh.
We have seen like leaders like Mahatma Gandhi who were like laissez-faire and who were benevolent and empath, to now seeing narcissist leaders and autocrats like in India, in the US now, and many parts of the world. So, what do you think? Why do you think people are electing such autocrats? Is it just a phase, or is this just because the people have become kind of in love with autocracy, rather than having control with themselves and governing like democracy, like believing in a democracy? So what's your take on it?
I believe we are going through a phase. I believe it won't last longer, personally. Maybe it's wishful thinking on my part, but I believe democracy will prevail. because the technology of today is really designed to empower people. All technology related to information systems, social media, internet, AI, you name it, they're all designed to empower people. And if your technology is designed to empower people, at the end, people will rise. We may be going through a phase where people are saying, we are fed up with the government and we need somebody to come and shake the government. That may be true because the government don't operate based on technology and tools of today. Governments still operate on processes and procedures set up 50 years ago. So this may be a phase where on one hand people are saying, hey, we don't like the way government works. Too much bureaucracy, too complicated, too cumbersome, not enough freedom, not enough autonomy, not enough flexibility, not enough innovations. So you get somebody to fix it. But they don't realize that it cannot be fixed by autocratic order. So over a period of time, people will realize that their destiny lies in their freedom. People don't understand freedom until that hits them. If somebody else's freedom is taken away, you just watch it and it becomes a news. When your freedom is taken away, you realize what it means to have the freedom. Freedom to say, freedom to move, freedom to choose, freedom to live the way you want to live, freedom to practice religion you want to practice, freedom to marry who you want to marry. These are all very important issues in life. And freedom is something people have been fighting for generations. If you look at the history of mankind, I believe two things that strike me the most. One is history of migration. History of mankind is a history of migration. Everybody came from somewhere, and it has been a journey. People came from Africa, people came from north, south, east, west, mingled, intermarried, all kinds of things happen. How did you think, how did we get blue eyes? Again, because of genetic mutation. How did we get different color? How did we get different hair? How did people change? So everything is about migration, and that process is still going on, and it'll go on. People migrate to different part, different country, different culture, different languages, and people explore new frontiers. So that's one part of human history. The second part of human history to me is all about struggle for freedom. Whether as a slave you are struggling, as a colony you are struggling to get freedom, as a minority you are struggling to get freedom, as women you are struggling to get freedom, as Dalits you are struggling to get freedom, respect, dignity. These two things define the humanity, the human history, the journey of people. Second one is more about democracy. Second one is about equality, equity, inclusion. Yeah. And ultimately, the roots for all of these things lie in democracy. When you don't have enough, you will let go democracy and say, I want to eat first. But once you have enough to eat, once you have enough education, you definitely want freedom, justice, equality, respect, dignity. So that's why I have great hope, Premada.
Uh, Thank you, sir. Sir, there's a question from Upendra. He's asking, what are your defining moments that shaped you as a leader, and what strategies have helped you to retain high performing teams?
Well, let me think through with you. And every time I think, I come up with different answers. So let me try. One, my childhood experiences shaped me a great deal. My loving parents, my Gandhian education, and my loving teachers shaped my confidence and gave me ability to think that I can do anything. My parents will love me, my teachers will love me, and I have a good foundation. That gave me courage to explore new frontiers. Education gave me foundation. And then some very critical decisions in my life shaped my journey. One was, after having worked for about 10 years, I decided to quit and start my own business. That was a big decision. I was young, 32, and to start a business at that age in America, when there were no brown managers. Okay. But somebody gave me a chance. Clint Penny and Alan Brown, my two American partners, trusted me, gave me a chance, loved me, cared for me, were fair to me, and became part of my family. And they took care of me. So I was lucky that I got those two people. And then when we sold Westcom, I made some money. And that gave me freedom. Until then, I didn't have any freedom because whatever money I earned, I spent on family and home and all that. So I basically worked for survival. So anybody who wants to do something in life must have some financial freedom. You can't be taking care of the world and the nation if you can't take care of yourself. And you can't be looking for a job and say, I want to do this seva. It's difficult. Maybe possible, but very difficult. So if you want to do something in life, you must take care of yourself and your family first. So that break was very important for me. But I was on a path to build a business until I met Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi. Rajiv Gandhi really gave meaning to my life. He changed my trajectory completely. A lot of people say, why are you so hung up on Congress? Why do you spend so much time politically? Why didn't you remain a professional? I couldn't. It's not fair. A party that gave me the opportunity of my lifetime, a party and the leader, Rajiv Gandhi, that gave me an opportunity to paint on a very large canvas. I can't forget that. I can't walk away from it. Under no circumstances I would leave that because I have an obligation. I have a responsibility that I'll be there in good times and bad times. Okay. So that was a trajectory that changed my life. And then Telecom Commission and technology missions and all that. And then I lost interest in business and I just got into, other things. So we have discussions in the family saying, why didn't you make billions? Why did you waste your opportunity? Because you were at the top of technology at that time. I was there when microprocessor was being designed and there was, there was nothing there. Yeah. So some of these events shaped my life. A lot of people contributed to my success. Some recognized, some not recognized. My family played an important role. Uh, my wife put up with my nonsense, you know. So a lot of things have happened in life, you know. So you get credit for it, but a lot of others have contributed to that success. Okay.
So one a question relating to that: how did you manage conflicts in your team as a leader when you were heading so many of the national, reform movements? How did you
Oh,
handle?
very good question. Very good question, because I have seen so many conflicts in my journey, big ones, small ones, personal, you know, uh, collective conflict. Let me give you a couple of examples, very interesting, dumb examples. Yeah. We had two groups in CDOT, one in Delhi, which was software and systems, and in Bangalore, hardware and testing and all. So we would have regular meetings in Delhi or Bangalore where I'll get all the top leaders once every month. And if we have a meeting in Delhi, they'll call it a tea break. And if we have a meeting in Bangalore, they'll call it a coffee break. And this became a big issue,
Okay.
okay, because people in Bangalore, in Delhi said, look, we want to call it a tea and coffee break. And they won't type it like that. Okay. So I realized that there is some conflict going on, you know, because people always felt that the Bangalore guys are different than Delhi guys. Yeah. So sometimes you have to sit with people and have a conversation. I remember once I was at the elevator and four or five girls were just talking. So I went there and I said, what's going on? And they were all young kids in their 20s, early 20s. They said, no, 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 nothing, no problem. So I grabbed one by hand and I said, come on, I want to know, because I believe there is something serious going on here. And the girls said, no, 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 no. Finally, I took them in my office and they said, our bosses don't talk to us. I said, why? They said, we come to work every day. We do our thing. They don't even say hello, because they were also young boys. They were afraid to talk to them. They never had, you know, girls as their assistants. So there is a big cultural problem. So I had to meet with all the girls. I had to meet with all the boys. I had to meet all of them together, mingle all of them together. And through conversation, you can solve many problems. Open, fair conversation where you allow each other to listen rather than confrontation. You got to focus on conversation. It takes time. At times it is painful. You know, uh, people lose their cool. People, start attacking each other. All that happens. But at the end, you find a solution. So conflict resolution is very important part of a leader. You have to resolve conflict constantly. And you got to make some judgments in conflict resolution. It's not easy. You make mistakes, you change when you make mistakes. Okay. So I think Upendra's question is very, very important. You're every day solving conflicts. People are fighting, people are, vindictive, people are unfair, jealous, competitive. They want to know what is your salary, why are you getting this, why did you get 3 days vacation, where did you go? They're like that. So you have to make everybody feel comfortable, everybody feel important. You know, One day I found out at C dot that 5 or 6 people were being harassed because they were coming to America. IIT graduates working at C dot got admissions here, and people were mad that you are deserting us and you are, coward and you are leaving us. So when I found out, I said, no, 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 we got to have a party for them. We got to celebrate that they are going to America. And you got to turn this around completely. We have to have different opinion. These are our ambassadors. I'm glad they are going abroad, you know, and they all felt good and they became our ambassadors. Okay? So sometimes you have to change attitude of the people. That's part of conflict resolution. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. So you mentioned about Gandhiji's principles. So there is a follow-up question from Javed Mirza. He's asking, we don't see Gandhiji's values practice in India. The divide between the poor and the rich has widened. Corruption, disempowerment of minorities has increased. So can the Congress play a leadership role in this?
Well, Congress party is based on Gandhian ideas. Gandhi Vichardhara is the foundation of Congress Vichardhara. Gandhiji gave path to Congress party, vision to Congress party. But how many Gandhians are there? You need to live Gandhi. You need to live that life of simplicity, honesty. You got to live that life of truth, trust, sacrifice. And unless and until you have enough people doing that, you don't have the momentum. 5 or 10 people who are Gandhian in the party don't help. You need many more people to follow Gandhi. You need Sevadal in every part of the country. So each one of us will have to follow Gandhi. What is happening today is everybody is expecting somebody else saying, I will remain who I am. I'll take advantage of everybody, but you sacrifice. You know. So you win votes for me, and then once I get in power, I will make money for myself. That's what is going on in this system. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Sir, there is another question from Moon Chaudhary. He's asking, people consider as a pioneer of IT and mobile phone technology. So he's asking whether you have any contribution behind uh, launching of Reliance or Infosys, like the foundation stone, as in.
Well, I don't think Reliance or Infosys were the foundations. They did their own. But I know that when Infosys was being formed, Nandan and others used to say that if it doesn't work, we'll go and work for C dot. There were 5 people at Infosys, and they used to hang around C dot people. Okay. So, but credit goes to them. They started the company. We created ecosystem. They use people. All telecom companies today use the talent pool that we created. Okay. The guy I had put in charge of building a fiber optics factory, he was hired by Airtel and he built basic infrastructure of Airtel in the beginning. And then Mukesh hired him and he built infrastructure for Geo. The first employee ever hired by Reliance in Telecom was Dr. N. Ravi. He was my head of staff, he used to share office with me. IIT graduate, IIM graduate, PhD from the US, worked for Bell Lab. He was my, I would say, chief of staff in Telecom. Dhirubhai Ambani asked me that can we hire Ravi? I said, sure. By then I had left. And Ravi was the first employee who really put a team together to structure. This is 30 years ago. Yeah. So people who had telecom talent, IT talent, were all in government. There's nothing in private. So all private companies today are built in the back of people who were trained in Department of Telecom, e-governance, and government, because that's where the talent was. Okay. Doesn't matter who made money and doesn't matter who benefited from it. Country benefited.
Absolutely, sir. As you rightly said, everything is for our country. Just on one last positive note from Nagender,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
yeah. So he's commenting. He's saying your interaction and conversations with Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi ji played a pivotal role in driving positive change across the country. So we need to have more of these experiences. Sharing of these experiences for our future generations to come. So really, sir, we can have, the future conversations about your experience, how you your interactions with prime minister and your role as his advisor, something on that.
See, we just clicked. In a sense, it's an accident of fate. We were just about same age. He was open. He was fair. He was not vindictive. He was not manipulative. Okay. Um, and he gave you comfort. There are so many examples we can talk about one by one, which are really examples of leadership in a way. Um, every once in a while, on a regular basis, in fact, he would call me at 10 o'clock at night. And then, I would have just come home, I'll eat, and I'll take Anu with me. You know, First time I took Anu with me in the evening at 10 o'clock, I asked Anu, just sit in the corner because he has tendency to, ask all kinds of questions and do things. So Anu sat little further on the table. He and I, just two of us were there, and we were talking. And all of a sudden, he says, "Anu, why don't you come here? Sit next to me." And she sat, and he would start asking questions to her, and I would be very uncomfortable. I said, "Look, she has no idea." He said, "No, no, 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 but I want her opinion also." Okay. So he was that open. Okay. He was very warm, and that helped in our relationship. Credit goes to him in many ways. And he would listen and he would ask, you know, questions with which I had nothing to do. Sometimes he would say, Sam, who should we make chief minister of this state? And we'll talk. Okay. And he would take that input into consideration. So he was really good. Okay. I had a special bond with him. And that's why I can't forget the opportunity he gave me. Okay. So I have to do what I do. A lot of people tell me, oh, don't waste your time with Congress party and all that. No, it has nothing to do with anything. It has to do with my moral duty. Okay. It's not about what I get and what is the best next opportunity for me. Nothing to do with that. So there are a lot of stories with Rajiv. You know, I mean, I can spend an hour on how we spent time with Gorbachev. Um, how he said President of Vietnam should spend time with me. President of Vietnam spent 1 hour with me. Then General Ziap came to India, spent a day with me. So we have lots and lots of stories like that built me. And how would I get a chance to be part of that circle? You know, a son of a poor carpenter coming from tribal area of Orissa. I would never get a chance to be part of that circle because I had no contacts. You know, overnight you're hobnobbing with the head of states 40 years ago, not today. Okay, President of Italy came. You're there at the dinner. Okay, Aga Khan came. My wife and Aga Khan and his wife and Rahul and I and a couple of other people had dinner together. How would I meet Aga Khan as an example? But all top leaders of the world in that era, you interacted with directly, indirectly. You know, I remember first time I went to EU in 80s. EU was in the early stages, and there was a whole crew who wanted to interview me on technology missions and all. There was a very important tape EU made, which was shown all over in all EU countries. I can't even find that tape anymore. Videotape. So it was a different life. You know, and remember, this is 40 years ago. Okay, and today it's very different.
Absolutely, sir. Like we should have more people like you who are, who consider giving more than taking. I think the world will be a better place to live in. And I hope this whole phase of this autocratic leadership and narcissism ends soon for everyone's benefit. So on that positive
In
note,
this
thank
book,
you, sir.
in this book, there is a chapter on leadership. Oops. Hold on. I think there's a chapter on leadership in this book. I think. Let me just check. Yeah, leadership in and democracy. Ninth chapter in this book is on leadership in democracy.
Okay.
Okay. You
Yeah.
might want to look at it, or maybe we'll have a discussion on it
Yeah,
sometime.
we can have a discussion. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Okay. Thank you, sir, for such enriching conversation. And
I
we'll
hope
meet.
it was useful.
Yes, sir, very much. We got a lot of positive comments on YouTube and elsewhere, like LinkedIn and everywhere.
Good.
So yeah,
Well,
thank you,
thanks.
sir.
You guys make my day too, because I feel that I'm doing something useful. At this age, uh, you want to help young people genuinely. Okay. I don't know why. Maybe that's part of your continuity. It's like when you look at your grandchildren, you see continuity in them.
Hmm.
So I see as a professional continuity in all of you. Okay, that you are going to carry the torch. Okay. And when I see some love and affection and enthusiasm, I also get charged up. I also feel good. I'm a normal human being.
Mhm.
Okay. And thank you for encouraging me. Okay. You, Pendra, and others, and all of these people who come to listen have become part of my life. I look forward to this. Okay. So thank you for being there. And
Absolutely,
anything
sir.
I can do at a personal level, also, I'm always available. You can reach out to me, no issue. Okay.
Okay.
And there are
Thank you,
many
sir.
people like Nagendra and others.
Yeah.
In fact, some of the people who ask questions today, I know them personally. Okay.
So that's the beauty, sir. You know everyone, and you want to interact with people, and that's the modesty and that's the beauty of it. So thank
No,
you
you
very
make my
much.
life interesting. Okay. Thank you.
So it's a two-way process actually, but yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. So we meet
Thanks,
next
Upendra.
time.